It is the end of an era. Arrow has just concluded, and with that, I thought I would reflect upon my least favorite to most favorite season out of the series. It's had its highs, it's had its lows, but you cannot deny the Arrowverse this show started. Now, last year I went over a ranking, and again, you may not agree with this season ranking, so feel free to share your favorite seasons down in the comments below. I don't want any hate, this is just my opinion. I love all of Arrow, even with its bad moments. I also got some flack for not liking Ricardo Diaz. It's okay if you like Ricardo Diaz, but to have him in the same ballpark as Slade Wilson and Prometheus is just ridiculous. Just get the hell out of here if you think he's in the same ballpark. Starting with my least favorite would be Season 8. Now, 10 episodes was not enough. They should have had a full season. Everything felt kind of rushed. But it wasn't that. I love moments of the season. The premiere, even though it doesn't have Richard Queen as the Arrow as stated before, it had a cool opening with Tommy and Prometheus back. I love the premiere. Very Arrow-centric. The problem is, you have Arrow's death being hinted at with Crisis on Infinite Earths. And while it was an ambitious crossover, too much focus was put on the crossover and the Arrowverse instead of Oliver Queen this season. And it should have been more about Oliver Queen. Needless to say, he also died in the first part, which is okay, but it was on Supergirl. He didn't even get a proper death scene on Arrow, unless you count the re-death scene in part 4 where he's just like, I'm dead, as Spectre. And I'm like, he's a Spectre, he's technically already dead. But he got a cool battle scene, a cool sacrifice. That being said, I just wanted more emotional impact. However, I love the series finale. I think it's a beautiful ending. If it didn't have the last 5 minutes, I probably would have thought it failed. But a lot of stories were given closure. A lot of hints towards the future were put on. But there's just a lot of convoluted plot holes. I need to rewatch Season 7. Did Roy have an arm or not? I know it's a reference to the comics, but I could have sworn he had a human hand. It's like they try to match up everything to the future timeline while it's also a different timeline. Things got convoluted with everything, but I do love the homages and references to characters from the whole series. It was basically a love letter to the fans. You got to see Katana back, you got to see Thea Queen, Talia al Ghul, different characters throughout the series. And towards the end of it, it got kind of crazy with the Purgatory Island, ghosts being seen, you know, Season 4 magic type of stuff, but overall, it has some brilliant moments, and it did give the series closure. Despite its low moments, it honored the high moments and really gave a certain sense of satisfaction to the conclusion. I love Diggle being Green Lantern. I love Thea and Roy hinted at getting married. The stuff with Mia Queen, with Mia Smoke, their daughter was great. Having the future cast meet Oliver Queen in the present, that stuff was done well. And The Crisis has some wonderful cameos and homages to everything DC Comics on television and film just about. But for some reason, overall, looking past the fan moments, looking past the ending, it felt rushed, convoluted, and it's just not among my favorites. You know, there are moments that are better, much better than the previous 2 seasons, but I don't know. It's my least favorite. After that would be Season 6. Season 6 actually isn't too bad of a season. Ricardo Diaz does get on my nerves. I don't like him, but I like him better in this season than the next season. You know, there's an episode with a quadrant that was really well done. His backstory was really well done. It's just the whole physical fight of him beating Oliver wasn't very well done. And I know Oliver kind of let him beat him, and every time that he didn't basically let Ricardo Diaz beat him, he immediately defeated him. That being said, I'm like, really, after Prometheus? But I do love the Deathstroke arc with his son. That stuff was great. Caden James, to a degree, was kind of a cool villain. I wish we got to see more of him. It was cool that Ricardo Diaz betrayed him, but like, really? It would have been cool to have like a mental foe against Oliver. You kind of do with Diaz, but really more so with Caden James, and he had a personal vendetta, and that would have been cool. But besides that and the vigilante stuff, I really did not like the sidekick drama. New Team Arrow sucks. I'm sorry, they're horrible, whiny brats, and I hated them this season. That's what really killed the storytelling in Season 6. It still has some of the craft from Season 5. Of course, they didn't have the guts to kill off everybody on the island explosion, but the sidekick stuff, the other Team Arrow with Renee, Mr. Terrific, was a Curtis, and Dinah really annoyed me. Renee getting hurt, all that type of stuff. Oliver Queen getting arrested, that was an interesting arc. But man, it really It really damaged otherwise great season, I feel. Because of that, I like it less than the other ones, even though there's other seasons that are just not very well done with flashbacks or a villain or certain storytelling directions. Just the sidekick stuff really bogged the season down for me, and that's why it's lower on my list. After that, this is heresy to some, but it's season 4. I actually like season 4. I hated Damien Dark. I didn't really warm up to him until Legends of Tomorrow. I hated all the magic stuff. The flashbacks were the utmost worst this season. That made no sense whatsoever. That being said, though, this is the first season where he actually says, I am Green Arrow, you know? I like the whole short sleeve, kind of like shoulder pad suit he has. The Felicity stuff, there are some stakes in this season. And overall, it wasn't as good as the first 3. This, for a while, I thought was the worst. It still may be the worst season of Arrow. I just like it a bit more than the others in regards to some episodes and just the overall villain arc. Plus, him killing Damien Dark was great. It was like Damien Dark saying, you wouldn't even kill the man who murdered your mother. What can you do to me? And he's like, with Slade Wilson, I had a choice. With you, I don't. And then he like stabs him in the stomach. That was just epic. It had its moments, you know. It wasn't the best season, but I liked certain episodes. And for me, I found it more entertaining than some of the soap opera, sidekick drama, and other villains of the later seasons. After that is season 7. The first half of this is brilliant, man. I don't like the Longbow Hunters. I thought they were lame. I did not like Ricardo Diaz, but I love the Oliver Queen prison storyline. That stuff was just amazing. Bronze Tiger, like basically everybody he's put in to prison, everybody he's captured is in that prison. And that was great. You even had that other guy there that was just kind of like stalking him as an Arrow fan. That guy should have been a main Arrow villain. He had like a Joker-esque vibe to him. I loved it. I loved the first half of that season, the whole prison stuff. And like Team Arrow basically having to continue life without being vigilantes or continuing the Green Arrow's mission, and then finally they do. The FBI lady got on my nerves. I feel like she had other ulterior motives. Maybe they should have made Brafa and, I don't know, Anatoly Knizov more of a villain, but I like the stuff. The DS fight was great with the prison fight. And then we get Himiko Queen. And I didn't mind Dante. Adrian Paul, the Highlander, he's a black belt martial artist in real life, and he could have been a great villain. I feel like somewhere along the line, they didn't know where to go, or they decided to end the show. The second half really kills it, you know? All of a sudden, she can basically give him orders, even though she was serving him the whole time, and I did not find that believable at all. I didn't like the direction. I know they're going by the new comics, and then the mansion was like destroyed off screen in some comic book that was in between seasons, but I did not like that story. And of course, you had the Crisis. I did not like that crossover as much as a later one, but it set up stuff for the Monitor and Crisis on Infinite Earths. I love the ending, but what really makes season 7 for me is the future story in Star City 2040. William coming back, seeing an older Roy, Dinah, and seeing Mia Smoke introduced, and that is just awesome. The fight scenes there, the grittiness, seeing Renee become corrupt as mayor, like a whole bunch of stuff in the future was very well done, much better than the next couple of seasons, and I love the future storyline. And it could have ended here. It really could have. I mean, it practically does end with Felicity going through the portal, you know, but overall, I liked it better than season 6. Despite its shortcomings, it did have some highlight moments for the whole series. After that is season 3. Now, season 3 does not measure up to the first 2. I did not like it at the time, but you know what? It's aged very well. It had a good ending that could have been a series finale, but I love Ra's al Ghul. Oh, man. That whole fight there, Merlin, Sarah getting killed and then resurrected later in another season, Merlin there. Arrow and Felicity's relationship really starts here, you know, it's more of like the Reddit fandom and stuff in forums. He's never with Canary, you know, he's with a hacker chick like in Smallville, but I love it here. And I love Brandon Routh being added to the cast as Ray Palmer, taking over Oliver Queen's business, becoming the Atom. And the stuff here was done very well. This is also the first season where we have a crossover with Barry Allen as the Flash, who became that at the end of an episode of Arrow in season 2. I love it. This still had a lot of fun to it. It got a little bit redundant with like the whole I'm Count Vertigo, even though it killed Count Vertigo. Suddenly everybody has Vertigo and is Count Vertigo now. I didn't like that stuff, but I like him infiltrating the League of Assassins. You know, you thought he actually went off the deep end in episodes, and he infiltrates Ra's al Ghul's organization, basically. I love the fight they have, very reminiscent to the Batman comics. Again, Arrow borrows a lot of elements from Batman. And overall, the flashbacks, even though he's off the island, I thought that was the biggest mistake they made on the show. I like how the stuff with Katana and her husband with their dead kid tied into the virus stuff that was attacked in Star City with Ra's al Ghul at the end. Overall, this was a solid season. Not as well done as the first two, but still enjoyable enough. After that is season 1. This season was hardcore, edgy. I miss Arrow in the first 2 years, but the first season was just a blast. I did not like the pilot, but it was a start for things to come. When it gets to China White in the episode 2, and then the other people, villains of the week, Firefly and stuff, Count Vertigo, Merlin as a Dark Archer, that whole revelation, the love triangle with Tommy, Laurel, and Oliver. Dude, he is awesome as the Hood. It's before he had his mask. He had like the war paint, but I just love it. It was just like, you have failed this city. I just love that. This is the Arrow I want to see. This is what made the show last so long. The introduction of John Diggle, who's later in the comics. I just love this season. This first season is an amazing, amazing season, and definitely one of my favorites. And the one I'm about to mention in my second place, my second favorite, is probably the best season of the series. But for me, it's season 2. I love Deathstroke. This is probably the best. I love the whole Slade Wilson arc. The flashbacks and present day stuff actually matched very well. The revelation of Sarah being alive as the first Black Canary in this universe. You know, you have a reference to Barry Allen making Oliver Queen's mask. I just love it, you know? And it has different crimes, too. You have Count Vertigo again, who gets dealt with. You got Huntress returning. She was wonderful in season 1. You got the doll maker guy, like, basically put cement down people's throats and made them into human dolls. Like, that's just freaking creepy, man. I love this season. It continued the hardcore and edgy nature of the previous one, and he had to overcome a lot of stuff being a killer and also failing in the first season, which made that first season so edgy, is that he failed. And he can't fail the city again. Meanwhile, you get Mayor Blood there, who's, of course, Detective Douche in Lucifer. Summer Glau is amazing. And what could I say? She was great as Isabel Rochev, whose name was in the Dad's Journal, that whole takeover. But Slade Wilson, Manu Bennett, is awesome. He's one of the best, if not the best villain on Arrow. I love him in this show. I got to meet him at a Comic-Con when this season was out, and yeah, he was just badass. I love Deathstroke. He was a force to be reckoned with. Before Titans, I think he was probably like the best, if not still is, one of the best Deathstrokes I've seen in live action. Like, he made that role and elevated this show on so many levels. You also get Amanda Waller in the Suicide Squad before the film with the voice of Harley Quinn from the animated series. Overall, this went deeper into the characters' backstories, propelled the story forward with the characters in Star City, and continued the legend and the legacy of Green Arrow. And I just love it all the way to the end, man. I just love it. The Mirakuru, Roy, him ended up being affected with it and kind of becoming a prototype of Red Arrow Arsenal. For later, I just love it. This is the best season of Arrow. But my favorite, just by an edge, they're both really good. I love season 5. Prometheus is another force to be reckoned with. Him and Deathstroke are the best villains, but I love Adrian Chase as a villain because he was somebody that was affected by Oliver early on, but you didn't know about, you know? Like, where's this guy coming from? He's coming after Oliver out of nowhere. But it's tied to him personally through actions he did in season 1. But I love the introduction of, like, that police officer there is just like, Green Arrow? And he's like, no, I am not Green Arrow. I love that. As well as, like, the confession scene, which is like, confess, Oliver. I killed him, and I liked it. I just love that. But, like, him attacking his son and stuff, going after Oliver in psychological ways. God. And then this season also included one of my favorite episodes of the show, Spectre, the gun that was with gun rights, and Renee, Wild Dog's origin. You also get a young Team Arrow, but it was done in a realistic way. Oliver was still the leader. I love in that one scene where they try to, like, basically disobey his orders, and he, like, kicks their butt, like, in 5 seconds. Overall, this was great. Seeing him and Felicity move forward. Seeing Arrow come back to that dark, edgy, violent Arrow after the death of Laurel. And ultimately, this season was great all the way to the end. That shocking end with Prometheus actually winning with that island explosion. And I love the return of Deathstroke helping Oliver Queen out. Like old times, kid. I love that. Overall, that's probably my favorite season and like the last really good, should I say really great season of the show. Anyway, that does it for my least to most favorite seasons of Arrow. Again, I know this list will differ from yours, so feel free down in the comments. Let me know your least to most favorite seasons of Arrow. Let me know your Arrow ranking down in the comments below and let me know when you first started watching the show. I've been watching since 2012, October 10th, and now it's over. End of an era, but I can't wait to get the Blu-ray complete box set and everything. Every show has its high and low moments, but yeah, I'm going to cherish each and every one of them in every season. Quite a legacy Stephen Amell had as Arrow, and I love it. They did not fail this city. Check out these videos on my channel for more content, and don't forget to subscribe. Follow me on the Stardust app for more reactions. I have reactions of Arrow up there. And then I'm going to be having a Q&A soon, so yeah, tune in next time.